Well, you see everything laid out and ready to stack. Guten gardening, everybody. Well, you hear that sound, that hum in the background. That's actually the sound of our heating unit because it is 23 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So it's cold. It's cold outside. I think this is actually the coldest morning we've had, and we're coming toward the end of November, so it makes sense here in Zone 5, Wisconsin. But in today's video, I'm going to show you a couple of things. One, I'm going to show you first the few vegetables that we still have growing outside in our GreenStalk vertical gardens. And once I've done that, we're going to come right back inside and I'm going to show you what I'm setting up in here. So you're going to see I only have a few things left in my GreenStalks outside. I've got some beets still growing in here that I need to harvest. Now you can see we've had some cold weather. Let's see, can you see down in there and see these beautiful beets? I grew beets all throughout this container. I've been harvesting them all season long, and these are really nice. I mean, great size. One of my favorite things I think I've determined to grow in these GreenStalks are these beets, just because they seem to do so well. I mean, I can get leaves all season long if I want to harvest those. You can see the empty areas where I've pulled the beets out of here already. But again, really good size, I would argue, for a vertical garden system. You know, beets like this, it's going to be so tasty. And then right next door, this is again in our front garden space, right next door, I don't know that we're going to get to full size for all of these, but you can see my kohlrabi down in here. You know, it's another cool weather crop, the kohlrabi, one that I think grows pretty well. Actually, on this side, I've already pulled it out, but I had some summer squash growing earlier in the season. And again, I think I got some of these planted pretty late, so I doubt I'm going to get much out of a good many of these kohlrabi. But that's not the GreenStalks issue, that's a timing issue. But still, look at that nice one right down in here. And this is what I have left outside. But again, we're about to start growing inside. So pretty obviously there's not a lot left outside, but we did have a really nice growing season with peppers, with spinach, with sweet potatoes, squash, kohlrabi. Well, you name it, we probably grew it in our GreenStalk vertical garden this summer and fall seasons. But now it's time to bring our GreenStalk indoors. And actually, this is one of the things that we've been doing for the last 3 years now, growing in our GreenStalk vertical gardens indoors. So I'm going to show you what we're planting right now, show you what we have set up, and then, well, we'll come back together as I'm ready to assemble everything. Well, as you can see here, I have one of my original tier GreenStalks. This is a 10-inch depth for each of the 5 tiers that I have in here. And one of the things that we do here at Guten Gardening, and we encourage other people to try, is we bring our GreenStalks inside. Well, we bring a couple of them inside every year in order to continue that vertical garden growing process. And you can see what I've got here is a couple of different types of kale. And actually, I've got some bok choy here as well. Now, I started these out as seeds. All of this is seeds. I transplanted them into just some of these containers. These actually contained, I don't remember what these contained, but these are something that we got at the store. Oh, these were mushroom containers. There you go. And I transplanted them into it. I don't have any holes in the bottom, so I just had to be really careful how I watered them. But you can see these are in really great shape, and I'm going to go ahead and transplant them over into my GreenStalk. Now, I have just placed some potting mix in here. This is some of the potting mix that we got from Walmart for really cheap. You know, when we did one of those good deals at Walmart, and I'm going to be transplanting these right into this right now. And I get to have these continue their growing process. You can see how beautiful these roots are. Nice, bright white roots. And we're going to separate these plants out. You know, I started them in their seed trays early on. You know, you get multi-sown, and then I just pulled them apart. Just like so. You can see this one's dried out a little bit. But this is what I'm going to be planting. Plenty of roots in here. I should be a little bit more gentle. And one of the reasons why I'm growing so much kale indoors, I'm going to add some more mix. Kind of hard to do when I'm doing this with one hand here, but that's okay. One of the reasons I'm growing so much kale is we've gone back to making our green smoothies. Now, a while back, this has probably been 3+ years ago, I did a YouTube video where I showed you how we make our really nutritious green smoothies. So of course I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video. You should definitely check that out. But one of the key ingredients, and I've also done a video where I focused in on kale. You know, there for a while, kale was kind of the be-all, end-all for vegetables. People were just putting it on everything. And then I think, you know, folks got a little bit tired of it for whatever reason. Well, I've done a video where I've talked about how I consider it to be still somewhat underrated in many ways. But we use this in our green smoothies. But while we still have some growing outside, you know, we're getting close now to December and some pretty cold temperatures to a point where, you know, I assume, you know, usually our kale will run somewhere up through December, but I assume at some point we'll lose the ability to go out and get that kale. So I want this to be ready to take over once that's all said and done. Folks, as I'm recording this video, there is a massive Black Friday sale with GreenStalk happening right now. And it's one of the best sales I've seen. You can get a 5-tier original for less than $100. And on top of that, you get a free plant support with every planter that you buy. Those are awesome. On top of that, there's a 25% off all of the other items on their site. And on top of that, it's free shipping, no minimum order required. So I don't know if I've ever seen free shipping with no minimum order from them, but that's a big deal and a big savings. And they've added some new products as well, including some seed starter covers. You'll have to check those out. They are awesome. They're on a major sale as well. And I'm actually going to lay out the details of the sale on the screen as I'm talking so I don't miss anything. And on top of all of that, if you use our link and code Guten at checkout, you get an additional $10 off your order. So it's stackable, and it's a great way to get a GreenStalk just in time to grow indoors, or maybe in your growing season to grow outdoors as well. All right, you can see one of the reasons we love our GreenStalk so much. I've got 6 pockets per tier, so a potential for 30 plants on this original tier. And of course, you get a 7-tier leaf system, and you got enough room for 42 plants, but this is going to be just perfect for this kale. And this is just one of our tiers. I'm going to give it a good watering, and then I'm going to keep planting. Now, this is likely going to be our bottom tier. We'll see how it goes. For those of you who are brand new to the GreenStalk vertical gardening system, this is the catch tray that's in between each of the tiers. You can see the little holes here. You can also hopefully see that the little hole here in the middle is slanted a little bit. You know, the water runs the whole way from the top, and you'll see that when the setup is finalized, but this runs the whole way from the top down through each of the tiers. I place the holes toward the pockets, the water drips through, so you don't overwater. You end up getting a nice watering. One of the things that's really difficult, I think, with seedlings, if you're trying to water directly into, you might create some issues with the seedlings themselves, knock them over, flood them, etc. But when you're watering this way, it allows the moisture to come out to the plants from the root. It's kind of like watering from the bottom, even though you're not really watering from the bottom. It's just how it spreads out through the mix. And so this is going to be our bottom tier. Let me go ahead and keep going. As you can probably tell from the order of this video, I've done some of the work ahead of time, and I'm coming back and I'm recording this piece. But I want to make this very clear. You know, one of the questions that has been asked multiple times is how we handle watering our GreenStalk indoors, what the setup looks like in terms of lighting, etc. And we've done a couple of videos where we talked about that. So of course I'm going to link those videos in the description of this video, because I don't want to take the entire time of this video to talk about the way we have things set up. But I do want you to be very clear that this is a vertical setup that you can adapt to work indoors. Now the rest of our GreenStalks, we have quite a few. The rest of our GreenStalks we're leaving outside. They're going to winter outside because this is some really sturdy plastic. It doesn't have a problem with that. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stack this up so you can see what our full stack, our full setup looks like now that we've got all of our kale and this beautiful little bok choy here planted. So let's go ahead and get it inside our grow tent. Well, you see everything laid out and ready to stack. There's 4 of them here. The 5th one I was just right beside. Here in our raised bed, our indoor raised bed. We've also got some kale planted as well. When I tell you we're going all out with some kale this year. Of course, that's not the only thing we're going to be growing, but we definitely are. So I'm going to go ahead right back in this corner where I've got my vertical lights that'll be all around the exterior. I'm going to stack right back there. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm going to keep this on wheels just for now. I typically take the wheels off of our base, and that's how I stack it up on some bricks, and that's how I get the height. That makes it easier for me to put a catch tree under here, so any water that runs out, I mean, I can still do it at this height, it's just not as easy. But for now, just for ease of movement, here you can see, makes it really easy here in my grow tent. All right, let me finish stacking these up. The most important thing as I'm continuing to stack these up, you can see the plants themselves a couple inches tall. What I don't want to do is land on my plants down below. But all I need to do is settle in just like that. Now I can move this back a little bit. Take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? What is it my daughter says? My younger daughter still says it. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And of course it takes up a minimal amount of space to get this in here. Now I'm playing around with an old light that was donated to me. It used to be used in a school. I'm playing around with an old light this season, and so it's a little bit lower than my previous light in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave this at 4 tiers for now. And that's a decision I can make, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiers, but 4 tiers for now for the height. And I'm just going to set my 5th one down for now. I'm about to go away for Thanksgiving, and so we're just going to leave this here for a couple of days by itself. Everything will settle in now that I've got it planted. Oh man, I am so excited. I think this is going to be some awesome production, some awesome kale. How about you? What do you think about bok choy? You a big fan of bok choy? Well, that was pretty easy to set up in our indoor growing space. You know, we've had some pretty good production the last couple of years from our GreenStalk vertical gardens, indoors as well as outdoors. So if you're considering buying a GreenStalk, just remember that, I mean, it takes a little bit of extra effort, that's true, to get things set up so that they work for you indoors, but it's definitely possible to make this system work and actually to do quite well. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. You're inspired and excited for that indoor growing season. And we've got some pretty cool stuff lined up for you for this indoor growing season, including some opportunities to highlight some of what you do indoors as well. But you'll have to stay tuned for some videos specific to that. So get excited, get ready. Folks, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.